everyone, and welcome to the December edition, the last 2020 edition of Post Perez. My name is W.H. Park, and normally, of course, on Post Perez, I'd be joined by John Pollock, but he's still kind of on paternity leave. He's made his return to the main roster shows of Post Wrestling, but these satellite shows, he hasn't caught up with watching his fix of Japanese wrestling, so he felt I should contact somebody who keeps up with the Japanese scene a little bit better. And I reached out to a good friend of mine, someone I know who watches almost everything and keeps up. And that's my good friend, Joey Bay. Joey, how are you?
I'm good, WH. Thanks for having me on. It's pretty exciting to be on one of the satellite post-wrestling shows again. And yeah, I try to keep up with everything as best I can. It's been a crazy year, as everybody knows. But yeah, it's recording these shows with you gets me motivated to be excited about wrestling. So
well, I mean, people might recognize your voice and your name from like your appearances from Cruel Summer and Thunderstruck. It's not like you've never been on a podcast with me. It's not like you've never been on Post Wrestling before. So it's kind of like a return for you. This is like your third time, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so, if not more. I know we did the Cruel Summer, and then the Jushin Liger, and then I feel like we did something else. But we also just talk a lot in our free time. So
this is true. We do converse privately just about things in general, not just about wrestling. But today we're going to talk about wrestling, and I have to confess to you that I had this whole intro designed to just say how much of a fan of Outlaw Mud shows you are.
Go for it.
No. But I thought I'm just going to go straight ahead and just talk about the positives.
Oh, no.
No, I'm just kidding. So for those of you who don't know, the phrase Outlaw Mud Show was coined by, I believe, Jim Cornette about indie wrestling and like deathmatch wrestling. And I just love that phrase. I just think it's funny. And I say it very ironically. I don't actually hate deathmatch wrestling per se. It's not for me. I don't necessarily hate it. I understand why people like it. But you are a big fan of that particular genre of wrestling, Joey. And so, I will send private correspondence to you. Hey, how's that Outlaw Mud Show you went to in Indiana or something like that?
Yeah. No, it's a gift and a curse because I enjoy what I watch, but I'm still not sure why I enjoy it, if that makes any sense. I probably wasn't converted over to being a deathmatch fan until the past 3 or 4 years, and I'm a lifetime wrestling fan. And I used to just hand wave it all, and even with Big Japan, I've always been not always, but for the past 10, 15 years, I've been a big Daisuke Sekimoto fan. He's by far my favorite wrestler in the world. Along with the rest of the strong division in Big Japan. But, I don't understand what happened. I was watching a Masashi Takeda death match one day, and it just, kept playing after a Daisuke Sekimoto match. And I was like, oh, maybe I do like this. And then, fast forward to us going to a couple Big Japan shows together a few years ago when I was in Japan for the G1. And I mean, we went to several shows, but watching the light tubes break and fling off into the crowd and everything was quite the experience with you. And I believe that may have been one of my first ever deathmatch wrestling experiences. Not to go off on a tangent.
No, it's okay. We can go off on tangents. I mean, I think that was my first live deathmatch like I had seen in Japan. Was like it was you, it was Mort. It was our mutual friend, Matt McEwen. Was there. I think Matt and I had probably the same experience at that show. We were like, oh, look, there's glass in my lap.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about this. And then I believe you were smiling, and I definitely know Mort was smiling, and I believe some of that was because of the alcohol he consumed throughout the day. But
likewise, I had quite a few strong zeros.
You did too, yes. But that was right after the G1 finals that we went to, and because of you two, I missed the astronauts match, I believe.
Yeah,
in the beginning of the show.
as we record, I'm actually wearing an astronaut shirt, so I'm still equally as disappointed in myself as well as us collectively as a group for kind of him hawing around Budokan and watching Tanahashi celebrate all the way until he gets to the back of the arena and then kind of filtering out like sardines of the Budokan and then trying our best to rush over to Korakuen. That's still probably one of the funnest days of my life. But yeah,
I mean, I was saying too. I believe our other friend who is with us from Germany, Jonas, him and Matt had already come out, and I was just like, "Where's Joey and where's Ward?" And they're like, "Oh, they're still watching Tanahashi do the air guitar bit because you guys have never seen it live, I think, or Ward hadn't." And I was just like, "Well, fuck them. They know where Korakuen is. Let's go.
Fair.
Let's go." But they're like, "No, we should stay together." I'm like, "No, we're gonna miss matches. Like, and I might miss a match that I actually want to see." And I did, but that is water under the bridge. And I don't hold a grudge, as you all know. If I did, you and I would not be talking now. But
I mean, it was astronauts versus, wasn't it Sato and Sakamoto? So it wasn't like just some run of the mill.
Yeah, but it's the astronauts. You know how much I love the astronauts.
Oh no, of course. No, I'm saying like it's double disappointment on my level because I mean that probably was one of the more hyped matches that I wanted to see on that trip, and then of course they put it on as an opener. So I don't know. We could shame ourselves, or not you, of course, but me and Mort, or we could shame Big Japan for putting the main event on first.
Yeah,
on the same day as the G1 final.
I mean, getting back to your love for death matches. I was just gonna make a joke. It's like you saw Masashi Takeda just like start using garden shears to cut people open. You thought, oh, this is for me.
Yeah. I don't know if it was getting older and getting more of a callus over my heart and my conscience or something. But I don't know. The violence kind of drew me in ever since then. I don't know what it is, but
fair enough. I do know like you made a big purchase of Big Japan stuff from IVP videos.
Yeah. Well, there's this huge gap in like videos that I don't have in my personal collection. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to buy 4 years worth of every Big Japan show. And then
not including the ones I sent to you, right?
Yeah. No, yours are from 2007. So they actually helped me fill out a good portion of 2007 and I need to get the rest. So it's a work in progress, but yeah, if I have a little DVD burner and I've been filling my time up with a lot of ripping of DVDs. So if anybody needs any of that type of work done, feel free to contact me.
Yeah. I mean, like I put up on Twitter, like, when I came back to Canada, I moved back into my family house and I kept all my like wrestling media here. I took none of it with me. And I had forgotten, Joey, like how much like copies, like DVD copies I have of Japanese wrestling from between, I'd say 2004, which is like really like the height of my like buying of DVDs. Before I was tape trading, I was doing VHS, and like that's another story. Like if you have ability to rip VHS onto your computer, I will maybe start sending you my VHS tapes. You can, I randomly have, like Monday Night Raw, WCW Thunder from like, I don't know, 1998 on a VHS tape somewhere, and then it'll say like New Japan Pro Wrestling 1997. BOSJ, which is, we'll talk about the BOSJ a little later. But, like if you have that ability, VHS ripper, I'll send you stuff maybe,
I think I could figure out a way. And I don't know if you follow Roy Lucier on Twitter or any of the social medias, but he's been ripping his VHS collection and he'll throw up, a random like 6-hour slow speed, like block from a random VHS that he finds.
I think. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, I think the trick would be you like if you get one of those VHS like DVD rippers. Like,
definitely, yeah.
And then you rip the DVD version of it onto like your computer or something like that. Would probably be the thing. I don't know where you would find those. eBay maybe.
Yeah. I'm sure they exist, and I don't know. Sometimes who knows with the conversion stuff, but sometimes it's super cheap. Like I got a DVD burner for like $25 and it's like life changing. I have my whole collection. It's being converted and stored on hard drives now, which is it's setting my mind at ease because I had a hard drive fail a few months ago.
Oh yeah.
So that was a big turning point in like my collection. I'm like, I need to do something about this to make sure this doesn't happen again. So I can, share it with other people just in case. And if I run into this issue, I can get those copies back and vice versa, so.
At some point, I think you're going to have to like just invest in like a huge amount of cloud, cloud storage. And then obviously like if that happens, like maybe I will have to, join in on the cost with you.
Hey, yeah, we should maybe, take this into the DMs and maybe ask a few other people and see what we can compile. Cause I think we could probably.
And before people ask, oh, can I get a link to, no, this is, unless you pay for it, this is just privately shared between two individuals for non-commercial use. Just so that's very clear out there. Just so people know. And I'm not saying exactly what kind of files we will be sharing. But anyways, let's move on to today's show. We got a lot to talk about, actually. We're going to be talking about some of the more recent happenings in wrestling, including some of the big matches that have happened the last couple of weeks. I want to start off with the Super J Cup, which happened last night on New Japan World and on Fight TV. I did not watch the Fight TV feed because I have access to New Japan World, so I watched it on that service. And did you watch any of the Super J Cup from last night, Joey?
So unfortunately, I fell asleep very early last night. I woke up this morning and saw the first three matches. So all the way up to Blake Christian and Ray Horace. I also saw ACH and TJP, and then the opener, Clark Connors versus Chris Bay.
Okay,
so
well,
that's all I saw.
That's good because I missed the first match of Chris Bay versus Clark Connors, but I saw everything else. And to be honest with you, Joey, maybe it's not unfortunate that you fell asleep early and missed most of the show because like I'll get to my overall thoughts about this show as we go through each match. So just so people know, I'm not going to go like match blow by blow, move by move reviews, just kind of overall thoughts about each match. And I'll give a rating for each of them. I wrote down ratings for this stuff. Let's start off. So Chris Bay versus Clark Connors. How was that match?
It was a perfectly fine standard opener. It's as someone who doesn't really watch too much of the strong episodes, from the LA dojo or whatever studio they're filming out in LA. And there's something that takes away my enjoyment. Obviously there's no fans, but I don't know, something about that building, even with it all done up with all the LED boards and stuff. I don't know. I just can't really pay attention, but that's not to say these two guys aren't good wrestlers. I think Clark Connors is ready, whatever that may mean in 2020. If it means, they're going to send him over to do like a Gabriel Kidd, just, live over in Japan for the foreseeable future. Or I don't know what other excursion he could really go on, but he is just so crisp in the ring, and it looks like he's leaned down quite a bit. He's a shorter guy, but he was very puffed up and jacked the last few times I saw him before quarantine and coronavirus started. He's growing the hair out. He's got the beautiful long locks. But yeah, he's definitely leaner. So he's definitely, it seems at least that he's, targeting a junior role once they do kind of elevate him from his current young lion position. And Chris Bay, he's a fun guy on the indies. Also, I'd like to note that there is no relation. My name is B-A-Y. His is B-E-Y.
Also, he's black and you're white. So
hey, weirder things have happened,
I think that would be, yes, I agree with you. Weirder things have happened. I think that would be a bit of a stretch, though. If you
yes, very much so. But yeah, no, it was an enjoyable match for what it was. Yeah.
All right. What I thought was interesting was that they were announcing, like, for Chris Bay, he's representing Impact Wrestling here. And then later on with the Blake Christian match, like he's listed as being representing GCW, or as I like to call it, Outlaw Mud Show Promotion Number 1. But I really thought that was interesting that New Japan was really kind of leaning in towards not just saying these guys are freelancers, they work the indies, but that they represent particular companies coming into the Super J Cup.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of harkens back to, the old Best of the Super Juniors tournaments where they'd bring in Ricochet, and they'd have him, with the little Dragon Gate logo, like as an affiliate, or like Kota Ibushi, before he was, truly a New Japan guy, they'd always have the little DDT logo on the hype videos and on the entrances and whatnot. So it's cool that they kind of keep up the tradition, even with, the Outlaw Mud Show promotions, and even with Impact Wrestling, who New Japan and Impact obviously haven't had the best relations since, 2011, 2012. So
I feel that's like the Impact that exists today is not the Impact TNA that Kazuchika Okada was in. Like, I don't even know why there would still be an issue with those two companies. But one thing I want to make a note about with Clark Connors, I did not get to see this match, but overall, generally, I think he's the best of the three guys that were in the LA dojo that we got to see a lot of, like between him and Alex Coughlin and Carl Fredericks. I think he's way more talented in ring, and I think he has a better persona than Carl Fredericks. I think Carl Fredericks has the aesthetics to be a top line star, but watching him, like several months ago on New Japan Strong, I was just like, yeah, he's okay, and he's good. He's not great, and I don't see him necessarily becoming great at this moment. When he was a young lion, when he's still wearing black, I saw more potential in him. I don't know what it was. But with Clark Connors, I think it's very consistent. Like this guy kind of reminds me a bit of like he could be like this era's, like, I guess, Dean Malenko, like what Dean Malenko was to the New Japan Juniors in the 90s. I think like Clark Connors has the potential, and I'm always engaged when I'm watching his matches. Yeah,
he has quite the edge technically over the other guys. Like, he's just very smooth with just the groundwork and the transitions between holds and whatnot. Like, obviously that's what they stress in the New Japan dojo, but I mean, he's really taken it on. And I feel like that short, stocky build just has wrestlers with that build specifically have, I don't know what it is, but they're more conducive to that type of wrestling and that type of work for whatever reason. It just seems to work better for the short, stocky guys.
Yeah, I think this is wrestling lends itself to more like less gangly people, as it were. Yeah. Carl Frey's not gangly, but he is taller and has a longer reach. So, maybe it looks better coming from Clark Connors. But let's move on. Second match was something I did see from this point on, which was TJP taking on ACH, the Battle of the Initials. I should have maybe officiated this match or done the colored commentary. WHP calling TJP versus ACH here.
That's not confusing at all.
No, not at all. But it's a return of sorts for ACH. He's been doing New Japan Strong for a while now. But it's nice to see ACH in a higher profile. After his departure from the WWE NXT due to various issues, not the least of which is that company's a piece of shit. But anyways, I don't want to get too negative. Apparently, my candor and honesty has riled up some folks over at the Post Wrestling forums, but we'll not go into that, Joey. But I like this match. I gave it a 3.5 as far as the grapple ratings go. A very even match. These guys are very evenly matched. You can tell both have super seasoned, based throughout their careers, like wrestling everywhere and just doing a lot of work on the indies recently, despite the pandemic, and really technical. Not too much high flying. I thought it was more of a technical match, and yeah, ACH wins. And I will say this is the first match I watched of this show, and I just made a point of saying like no crowd really hurts the atmosphere, and you kind of alluded to this with the first match, and I found it hard to go beyond my kind of initial interest in the match for the work that was being done inside the ring, but it was a fine match. I do recommend people watch it, but I do think this is going to be kind of a theme throughout this review. Is like, maybe not the best, atmosphere for the Super J Cup this year.
Definitely. Yeah, it's just kind of, they're dealing with the cards they were dealt, and it is what it is. But yeah, it definitely takes away, especially when you go from, the World Tag League Best of the Super Juniors finals in Budokan Hall, and there is an audience and there is a good sized crowd. To this, it just, I don't know. Even with the crowds only being able to clap and them kind of breaking those rules at certain points during the Best of the Super Juniors and World Tag League show for, the crazy reactions of the big spots throughout that show. It just, I don't know. I don't think it lends itself to like going from that setting to watching an empty arena or empty studio wrestling show. But that's not to say, again, that these guys weren't out there putting on good wrestling matches.
No, I thought, these two are two of the better guys out on the scene right now. Excuse me here. Okay, let's move on. The third match, Blake Christian representing GCW and Ray Horace representing Ring of Honor here. I thought this was a really good match. Again, another 3.5 star match for me. Early start was a mix of kind of lucha and technical wrestling. And again, these guys are very, very evenly matched. Even though like Ray Horace has a ton of experience over Blake Christian, I thought Christian really held his own with him. The flips start really quickly in this match, though, Joey. You can't keep these two grounded for very long. I really thought that throughout the match, like Ray Horace showed a lot more confidence and was more assured in his wrestling, especially on this kind of a stage, more than Christian had or did. I chalk that up to him having less experience. Especially like maybe on a television setting. So yeah. And, one of the notable things about this match was that, Blake Christian got busted open. I think he broke his nose. I think they said this later on in the show that he broke his nose in this match and he was just bleeding from that nose. And, but it didn't keep him down. He did win the match with a frog splash. And yeah, again, I thought this was a really fun match as well.
Yeah. I really like Ray Horace from what I've seen of his work in Ring of Honor and PWG. Besides that, I really haven't seen much of his, admittedly. But he's I feel like he's a very underrated luchador. Whereas I don't know if I still don't know about Blake Christian. I feel like there's points where I think he works to the level of his opponent. Like he can be brought to a good match, but he still has so much to learn in his position. I mean, he's in GCW. He's kind of like touted as like the work rate guy. And even in that position, I think, they're putting him up against guys like Leo Rush and ACH and, like veterans of that style. And when he's given the opportunity, he succeeds. But then if you throw him in there with somebody who either can't base for him or, is at the same skill level, like maybe a Myron Reed, I don't know. People praised those matches throughout this year, but I don't know. It just didn't win me over. I think Blake he sometimes looks like he's moving in slow motion or he's moving through water. Like even with his high spots, it just kind of like looks like it's like slowed down for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's just me not connecting with him yet. And I feel like he could, probably put a little bit more work into his physique and just his overall, look. He's just kind of like halfway there, in my opinion.
I feel like he's someone who would really benefit if he got, a chance to join the LA Dojo. If like New Japan signed him and said, okay, you're gonna train with Shibata and all the other guys, and this would include, of course, working out with them and maybe like eating some more chanko nabe in the dojo with them as well. But yeah, I do think like there is potential in Blake Christian. I don't think he's reached it. Obviously, he's still new to the business, I feel. Yeah. So we'll keep it. He's one to keep an eye on, though. I do feel like him, guys like Benjamin Carter and Alex Zane, of course, just got signed to WWE, so we're never going to see him again. So Blake Christian is like someone we can keep an eye on because he's not signed to the Performance Center and going to be spending the next 7 years there. Anyways, moving on. Match 4, we have the returning El Phantasmo. Joey, I'm going to have a lot of takes about El Phantasmo as we get on through this review, and he's taking on Lio Rush. I think this is his New Japan debut. I don't know if he's been doing Strong. I haven't been watching Strong for the last month or so. But yeah, this is, I thought this, up to this point, this was the best match of the show. And one thing that I have to make a point of is that, the trash talking between, Phantasmo and Lio Rush really kind of filled out the atmosphere of the show. They were just like, jaw-jacking with each other and insulting one another. And El Phantasmo in general just can't shut up. He just likes to, run his mouth all the time. He came out and what happened was like they put up this thing, you'll watch a Japanese wrestling show and they'll say sound muted due to licensing agreements because they don't have the clearance rights for the music. Uh-huh. So they did this with El Phantasmo, but it's like, well, this is like his New Japan music. Why is it being muted? And like the storyline, according to, this included muting out Kevin Kelly and Alex Kozlov, who were the commentating team for this show. And like, I was like, why is this being muted? It's his New Japan music. And then when it comes back on, the sound comes back on, like they're basically running this gimmick and this angle where like Phantasmo didn't give them the clearance for his new music that apparently he wrote and produced himself to New Japan because he's holding the office up for more money. And this is the phrase that Kevin Kelly used. Are you holding up the office for more money? You scoundrel, you. It's like, up to this point, I was fine. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Kelly's commentary. I do think he tends to devolve into like kind of cliches and just like terrible Japanesism, if it were, oh, dangerous, shit like that. Like he sounds like a new like kind of Gabe Sapolsky during the ROH years. Anyways, I don't want to get into this too much into Kevin Kelly here, but like I just thought, that's really creative. Whose idea was this? I hope it's not Rocky Romero because I do like Rocky Romero and I think he's a very smart man. But I hope it's not a Rocky Romero idea because it's kind of dumb. But, Lio Rush came out, and his entrance gear was really cool. He had wings, Did you see this, Joey?
I did not. Yeah, no, I only had time to see those first 3 matches, but I look forward to watching this one.
he has wings like a moth, because like his nickname is Man of the Hour. You get it?
Yeah.
It's smart. I made a note about that, obviously.
I believe he's got a big moth tattooed on his chest too, right?
I think so. Yeah, I did. I think I saw that. Like he's really leaning into the
moth
the moth gimmick. Yeah, the Man of the Hour, the moth gimmick. You know what? There's worse things out there. It's not. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's that great. It's just a little cheesy, but overall, there's a lot worse out there. And overall, sure. I like Lio Rush. I think he's a really great talent. It's that during this match that Kevin Kelly and Alex Kozlov announced that Blake Christian in the back has a broken nose, but he's refusing to bow out of this tournament. Of course he is. Like, you'd have to be shot to not, be wrestling for the rest of the tournament, unless you were an Impact. Apparently that doesn't stop people from continuing to wrestle in Impact Wrestling. Anyways, one of the key points of this match was that Phantasmo has ring rust, and he would be like purposely fucking up certain moves, like his top rope stuff. He'd be like slipping off the top ropes and like not landing some of it. That spot where he like jumps up and down the second to the top to show off his athleticism. He fucked that up on purpose, obviously. And they were just like saying, he's got ring rust. Oh, is he going to make... I think to create false drama for how far he's going to go into the tournament. And, spoiler alert, he goes all the way to the finals, okay? Just so you know. This is going to be one of my points I'm going to get to with him. That being said, Lio Rush, they also made a point that Lio Rush has been wrestling, consistently throughout the last couple of months. And that he looked really polished and he looked great. I thought his performance was top notch, and this made me quite sad at the result because Phantasmo beat Lio Rush to continue into the semifinals. This is a very fast paced and like high flying move, and they just went right at it. No technical wrestling, nothing. Just started hitting the flips right away. And I guess again, they're talking made made up for a lack of a crowd in here. Yeah, I don't know. Like, one of the big spots was like, Phantasmo hitting the Styles Clash to Lio Rush on the floor, which looked painful. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how you can work that, Joey. Like, doing a Styles Clash to somebody on the floor. Yeah, but it's here's the problem. It's an El Phantasmo match, so there's gonna be a ref bump, which there was. He's gonna punch somebody in the dick, which he did. He's also gonna step on someone's dick while they're hanging in the Tree of Woe, which he did. And so this is the first of 3 instances of where I'm gonna see this fucking shit. And there you go. Still 3.5 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars, but ELP wins, and I think we're gonna see a de-evolution of his ratings as we get further into the show.
I feel as though he doesn't care personally, but I don't know. I just think doing that much without having seen any of this, with doing that much heel shtick in front of no audience, I don't know. It kind of makes you think, maybe you should try out some other methods of, garnering a reaction out of the people watching at home, or, a little bit more creativity.
He falls under this trap of like what Geto thinks a heel should be like. Like, I feel in New Japan, there's like 2 really good heels because they know how to work heel without being like what I call a cartoonish buffoon. Like, Evil is a cartoonish buffoon as a heel. Jay White is a cartoonish buffoon. El Phantasmo, cartoonish buffoon category. The 2 good heels in New Japan are Kenta and El Desperado, because they do not come across like buffoons. Like, they don't come across as like mustache twirling, serial cartoon fucking supervillains or anything like that. Whereas like the other 3 that I mentioned do. And so I don't enjoy, seeing El Phantasmo, because he's just like full of cliches and tropes in his work, and it doesn't interest me. Like, is he a great athlete? Yeah, of course he is. I'm never going to say he's not a great athlete. He is. He's very, very talented, but it's just like the things that fill out his act are things that I have absolutely zero interest in seeing, especially in a Japanese wrestling, setting.
Yeah, no, I agree to an extent. I mean, he's just one of those acts that really doesn't lend itself to, especially like the no crowd shows. I mean, once there's a crowd's back and they can respond, naturally, I think there's a place for El Desperado, or not El Desperado, I'm sorry, El Phantasmo. There's always a spot on the card for El Desperado.
Oh yeah. But we'll get to El Desperado later on in the show. We'll be throwing roses at that fella later on.
Yes. So
next match is actually, that was the last match of the opening round. So now we're going to break things up with a tag match. It's Danny Limelight and JR Kratos, who the last time I saw JR Kratos was live last January at Korakuen Hall for an All Japan show. And I was not impressed, and I watched it, and I know he's been working strong. I think he formed the New Japan Strong version of Team Filthy with Tom Lawler and Danny Limelight. I think Russ Taylor, before Russ Taylor joined the WWE as well. Yeah. Wow, they didn't know about that. But like, he didn't impress me back in January, and he still doesn't impress me now. Let me just say that. He's just a big dude. Whose trunks are way too short for this guy. I hate like these wrestlers who wear their trunks way too short for people their size. This falls under the Otis category, or as I like to call him, Grotus. Now, if you're wondering what does Grotus mean, WH, well, take the words gross and Otis, you get Grotus. Okay. Anyways, this Kratos' gear, dude, tights or a singlet. Please go with that. The all red, it's a little bit much as well. Like, when you see this match, you'll understand what I mean. Like, it's very.
Is it like Dragon Gate wrestler level of like, just really up in their business?
For a man of his size, yes. For a man of his size, yes. And his entrance gear is like this really lame looking vinyl like shower curtain kind of thing. Like, okay, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyways, these two took on the team of Rocky Romero and Fred Rosser, who is also formerly known as Darren Young, and his nickname. I gotta love his nickname. Mr. No Days Off.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is. I'm sure he's taking some days off to, spend time with family and stuff like that and rest up. But anyways, the match starts with Kratos and Rosser just starting the match off, and they're just laying in with the heavy shots. I thought that was okay. But the main story is between Rocky and Danny Limelight, because Limelight turned on Rocky to join Team Filthy here. They get the heat on Rocky. He's basically like the Ricky Morton of the match for this particular match. I thought the atmosphere for this match was good as well. But it was fine. Kratos hits a German on Rocky, and then Limelight gets the pin on him. So basically continuing the issue between Danny Limelight and Rocky Romero. And how familiar are you with the other three that aren't Rocky Romero, Joey?
So Fred Rosser, I saw basically his entire WWE run, and I've seen a couple of the matches that he's had on Strong. Probably his first couple of matches. I believe he was in tags. I've always been a fan of the guy. I think he's very talented, very technically skilled as a wrestler. And then I've seen Danny Limelight on an episode of Dark, and I saw him on the GCW LA show. I have not seen. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name now.
Kratos.
The other Kratos. Yes, I don't believe I've seen Kratos.
You're not missing much. Let me just say that. Anyways, can I just make a note? Like, I got a shout out to my good friend John Cino. He's gonna pop when he hears I said my good friend. It's not really true. I'm just saying that to be polite. But anyways, I sent a message last night. I was watching this match. I was like, I said, John, you look like Danny Limelight kind of looks like you. If you were a wrestler, you'd probably look like Danny Limelight. And I think he thought that was funny. Anyways. It has nothing to do with anything. Let's move on. Next match, we're returning the semifinals. Chris Bay versus ACH, and this is actually my first time seeing Chris Bay, and I thought, very talented, very athletic, little rough around the edges. I felt, but I think all that time working in Impact has probably gotten him to a certain level that people on the Indies wouldn't be able to reach if they weren't in his position.
Yeah.
And in ACH, I just wrote here, ACH is so good at everything, which is true. I don't know what he can't do. He can fly, he can wrestle, he can do submissions, he can talk. This guy is this guy should be working everywhere, and people should be lining, up outside of his door to sign him to a contract. I know he has a reputation. I think one of his nicknames was ACH stood for always catching heat. But I don't know if he's got those, if those aren't things that people have to worry about anymore, promoters, then sign the guy. This guy is so good, and I just want to see more of ACH out there, Joey.
I agree. Yeah, and if you haven't seen his matches from the Collective, he had a couple bangers. He had a great match with AJ Gray on the Glory Pro show back in October. He had a great match against Leo Rush at Spring Break. And then he had a phenomenal match against Lee Moriarty at the For the Culture show. And yeah, just those three matches, as well as he had a couple others on GCW shows throughout the summer that really just were eye-opening. It's we're dealing with veteran, grizzled young vet ACH now, and he's not playing around. He's not doing as many crazy high spots as he used to. He's working more of a man's man kind of a move set and repertoire. And I honestly could say, I'm here for it. I enjoy everything I've seen from ACH this year.
Yeah, I like what you said, the grizzled young veteran ACH, and I think a lot of people make note of this, that he doesn't wrestle like he's 26 years old anymore. He wrestles like someone who's you know what? I don't need to do that many flips anymore. I need to do some more wrestling, and then pepper the flips in to make more sense, which, I'm all for that. That's just my style of wrestling. I don't care if you do flips, as long as it's not every fucking move is a flip, then it just means nothing. And I think the thing with ACH is now his wrestling means more. like everything he does means more, which I'm always going to be a supporter of.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on. And I gave that a 3-star rating. Next up is the other semifinals. And then we have El Phantasmo taking on Blake Christian. Blake Christian, of course, coming to this with a broken nose. He starts off hot against El Phantasmo. He's like, he's right away, he gives him the John Woo or shotgun dropkick. I know Matt likes to say shotgun dropkick. I like to say the John Woo. What are your feelings on? What are your feelings on this?
I love the John Woo. I just being a Yasushi Kanda fan, I'm always going to call it the John Woo kick.
Okay, you say Yasushi Kanda. The real innovator of this move was Suwa, and that's where I first saw it.
Yeah. That's fair.
And of course, like hearing it on old Noah shows, John Woo, against when he's fighting people like Marufuji and Kenta, of course. But yeah, I'm a big, I'm a fan of the name John Woo. I like the move as well. Blake Christian got a lot of offense on Phantasmo in this match. He dominated the early part of it, but of course, Phantasmo, gets the advantage. He gets the upper hand. He turns the tide by going for the nose. So he just starts working over the nose, and yeah, it was fine. I gave this like 2 3/4. Again, more bullshit from El Phantasmo. It basically was 2/3 of the last match he had, and I'm just like, at least do something different. This is the second time, like Blake Christian did different things in his match, and he has less experience than ELP, and I'm just like, well, why can't you fucking do something different in your match? You know what I mean? It's like you basically told the same story you told in the last match, and that's like you're a cheeseball supervillain and not an actual wrestler. And it's anyways. 2 3/4, Joey. I know you didn't watch this, so it's up to me to carry this. So that's the semifinals.
So, sorry, I do have a question. So basically what you're saying is you can interchange El Phantasmo's opponents throughout this tournament, and it's basically the same match and same story each match.
You can take the El Phantasmo out of the match, but you can't take the match out of El Phantasmo. Is that what I'm trying to say? I don't know.
That's fair.
Basically, it's like Jay White matches. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Jay White matches are all the same. I don't care. You can be the biggest Jay White fan, but you cannot tell me, like, objectively. I know wrestling is subjective, but you cannot objectively tell me that his matches are not the same, that they don't follow a formula of...
Nope, the ring bells. He goes to the outside, slicks his hair back, talks with Ghetto.
Ghetto, ref bump, dick, low blow.
Throws the opponent into the guardrail and then into the ring several times, and then you get into your finishing stretch after a few rest holds. But I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, same thing. Phantasmo, same fucking bullshit. So, anyways, let's move on. So that's the semifinals, and we're going back into another tag match, and this is actually a match that I was really looking forward to because it is the returning Ren Narita, one of my favorite young lions in the New Japan Dojo system, and he's teaming with the new LA Dojo young lion, Kevin Knight. I don't know anything about this guy, except he's big, and he looked really good in this match. And they're taking on the Bullet Club duo of Hikuleo and Kenta. And Kenta was fucking awesome. Anytime Kenta is in a match where he's just kicking the shit out of a young boy, it's always good, Joey.
So, okay, having not seen this, could you tell if this match was pre-taped before Kenta went back to Japan? And I think like the key indicator is he still has his long blonde hair versus his cool wrestler silver spiky hair that he has now.
I didn't pay attention to that, oddly enough.
Okay.
But obviously this was like filmed before.
Okay.
Because there's no way he's doing this live and then he's moving towards back to Japan to interfere in the World Tag League Finals. So no, I mean this is obviously. I think all the tag matches were probably recorded before, and then they did the actual tournament matches live.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then okay. So fun fact about Ren Narita coming back. Okay, so this is his first match since February. He's been over in the U.S. His last match before this, I was actually at live. It was a Black Label Pro show. Up in Crown Point, Indiana, against Aaron Williams, who is kind of a lower level indie guy that works the Midwest promotions. And I remember just thinking, like, I've never been that close for a young lion wrestling. I was just like right up against the ring essentially, and he was just so polished. And it's sad to see that, like, literally his cage match listings are February 29th, 2020 to his next match being yesterday, which is very, what are they not, why aren't they using him while he's, over here? Why isn't he not?
I don't know. I don't know. They need to give the Regal brothers some screen time as opposed to Red Narita. I have no idea. So no offense to the Regal brothers. Like,
the Regal twins are great. Yeah, they're very fun. But you have Ren Narita over here. Use him.
That being said, like, I thought he looked really good for someone who's not been wrestling for since February. And I also got to say, like, Hikuleo, I was not really that high on him when he first showed up. I just think it's very tough for green guys who are really tall to, like, acclimate to pro wrestling really well.
That goes back to the gangly notes.
Yeah, it is. But he looked good. I thought he's really adapted and he's really grown as a worker. And he showed that a lot in this match. And Kevin Knight, like, I thought for a new guy, like, he looked pretty good. And Kenta, like I said, he's the best heel in New Japan, and then El Desperado is a very, very, very close second. And he beats Knight. I forget the exact move. He just probably kicked the shit out of him, probably PK. I have to confess, at this point, I'm really tired. Like, it's like fair. Fucking midnight, and I worked like a 7-hour shift, like running around at my job doing all kinds of things, and I came home and I was tired. I was tired before I watched the show, which started at 10 p.m. Eastern, and I was tired by this match. So, like, I don't remember all the results. I do know I gave this like a 3.25 star rating. So it's worth watching. If you missed Red Narita, go watch this match. And then we get to the finals, Joey. Finally, it's like almost like, it's like quarter after midnight here. It's ACH versus El Phantasmo. My third time watching fucking El Phantasmo. And I was dozing off. And I cannot honestly say if it's because it's the third time I'm watching fucking El Phantasmo or it's because I'm just tired, just from fatigue. But what did I write down? ELP attacks ACH during his entrance. He breaks the trophy on ACH's back. ELP targeting ACH's back. This is like, I think I wrote ELP 3 times in a row. Sad face, sad face, sad face. Again, he did the same match he did with the other two guys. And I'm just like, ACH did the best he could. He did an excellent job of selling everything and really trying to get, like, the offense from Phantasmo over. But I couldn't stay awake to watch this. I was just dozing off. And just so people know, I actually had a phone call scheduled with Wei Ting at 1 a.m. to kind of test out the Zoom software on the computer I'm using. So I had that to look forward to. And that actually woke me up. That woke me up. Talking to Wei, it was like coffee after the whatever fucking, like, tranquilizer that this match was for me and this show was for me. But yeah, like, ELP wins. This is his second time in a row winning the Super J Cup, and Kevin Kelly said it best. It's been tainted. The legacy of this tournament has been tainted with this guy winning it again, and I think that's a shoot. To be honest with you, it's a shoot for me. Like, I think he's tainted it. I think El Phantasmo, talented athlete. He's a shitty pro wrestler. That's maybe a hot take. I don't know. Like, but I that's my feeling about it. Hiromu Takahashi, after winning the Best of the Super Juniors, which we're going to get to, he said he wanted to challenge the winner of the Super J Cup. And then, Phantasmo referenced that, and he says, he wants to face Hiromu. And I think that's probably one of the matches we're going to get on the January 4th Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom show, Joey, is El Phantasmo taking on Hiromu Takahashi. And I wish I could say I was looking forward to that, but I'm not.
Yeah, you look at the crop of guys that were in the Super J Cup, and it's like, oh man, we could have had Hiromu versus, Leo Rush, ACH, Chris Bay, TJP, like all these guys, and it's like, oh no, they're just gonna go back to ELP, once they can get him a flight over, which, good for him. But, I would have personally preferred one of the other guys kind of getting a chance, specifically ACH or Leo Rush. But ELP must have some fans in the New Japan offices, because he certainly gets the rub very often.
He's a ghetto wrestler, He's the kind of like wrestler that Geto likes, and Geto has his, like, you can tell he has his fetishes, and like shitty heels are one of his fetishes. Like, he pushes them down everyone's throat in that company. So that's one thing. Like near countouts, another fetish he has. Interfering managers who used to be junior heavyweight wrestlers, another fetish he has. I once made a list of all the fetishes he had in wrestling. This is like maybe 4 years ago, and it hasn't changed that much. I can now add junior heavyweight cheating heel managers as a recent, like fetish that he has. So, him, Jado, Dick Togo. I'm sure Taka, when Taka was in the company, same thing, Yep. Who else could we get to be this kind of a heel manager in New Japan? Like, who else is out there? Is what's Min's Tejo doing?
Who is like Yoshinari Ogawa, like once he's done in Noah, which he'll never be, but an older junior kind of stalwart, just in there doing Bullet Club heel shtick stuff would not surprise me.
No, but anyways, let's move on from the Super J Cup. Let's move back to Japan, and let's talk about the Best of the Super Juniors World Tag League Finals. We're not going to talk about the whole show necessarily. I will go through the results, but we're going to talk about the last two matches. But the opening for this was Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, and Taiji Ishimori, the Bullet Club, taking on Sho, Robbie Eagles, and Toru Yano. I skipped this match. I just was trying to get to the matches I wanted to see. I was kind of watching this in a rush, so I skipped this match. Like, I don't care what happened in this match. I'm sure nothing. I think some angle with Fale and Yano again. So basically nothing happened in this match.
So Fale, after the match, took the little trophy title that Yano has, and stomped on it. And I guess that's his way of challenging Yano for that. So
this is the guy. Yay. This is the guy they had beat Shinsuke Nakamura at his peak with the IC title for that belt, and now he's fucking challenging for this stupid KOPW gimmick that I think is absolutely stupid, by the way. But I guess that's, they finally recognize this is like Fale's role in the company is to do comedy and keep him out of like main events, which I'm not going to complain about. Next match, the Empire, the Great Okan, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, and Toa Hanare. I thought this was fun. A very angle-heavy match with the post-match beating of both Tanahashi and Ospreay. Obviously, Ospreay and Okada are going to have their match at Wrestle Kingdom. I think that the other direction we're going is Okan versus Tanahashi, and I get to think that Tanahashi is going to put him over, because I think like Okan is definitely someone that they're very high on. And of course, Shingo Takagi is going to take on one Jeff Cobb for the Never title. They did angle the next match following this one. And what did you think about the Empire here?
I really like the cohesive look that they all kind of have, especially, after the match, doing like the post-match poses and whatnot. I don't know. I personally wasn't huge on like this experiment that they're doing with an Ospreay-led stable, but as it continues to grow and kind of gain some steam, it's I don't know. I think I'm enjoying it, honestly. I'm pretty hyped for the Okada Ospreay match, and then obviously Cobb and Shingo is going to be awesome. But yeah, as a stable, I have no problem with it. I think throwing Bea Priestley in there as well as kind of the outside manager, as if we don't have enough in New Japan already. I think she does a good job as well, and it's it kind of shines a light on Stardom that wouldn't be there otherwise. So yeah, no, I'm a fan. Yeah,
I think my initial apprehension with especially with Cobb joining, because it made no sense booking wise. Like he beat Ospreay in the G1, and it's like, why? Okay, now you're his minion, like, but you beat him, like you bested him in a match. Like it makes no sense. But getting beyond that logic, jumping the shark, it's fine. I think it's a good role for like Okan and Cobb especially to be in like this faction with Ospreay, who they're obviously going to push to the moon in 2021. Despite I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's the fact. If you don't like it, I understand. But like New Japan is very, very high on him, and he's gonna get the push. He's probably going to become IWGP champion probably next year at some point.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I just it's sometimes it's hard to look past some of the actions and behaviors of wrestlers outside of the scope of actually inside of a wrestling arena.
I know, like I struggle with like a lot of people in wrestling. I do, but I remind myself like constantly that throughout its entire history, wrestling is full of people who are terrible people, and a lot of them
this is nothing new.
are stars in wrestling. Like the only new thing really, and I don't want to get deep into this, but the only new thing is that now people are listening to the people who are the victims of these terrible people in wrestling, and that's a good thing. I'm never gonna say that that's I wish that didn't happen. No, I'm glad it's happening, and because like everything, whether it's movies, whether it's music, whether it's sports of any kind, needs to get cleaned up, get rid of terrible people. I don't care how talented they are. There's varying degrees of like terrible behavior and stuff like that. It's up to you, like what you feel you're comfortable with. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on, let's go to the next match. Sonata and Shingo Takagi defeated Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. Takagi got I think he hit the Made in Japan on Yujiro here, and then Cobb attacked Shingo to set up their match probably at the fourth show at Wrestle Kingdom. But I think one of the interesting things for me was like seeing Sonata show some fire. Like this is the most like personality I had seen in Sonata in years, Joey, when he was like just going after Evil in this match. Yeah,
no, I'm a Sonata apologist, but no, I totally see what you're saying. I mean, usually is that stone-faced kind of Ikemen wrestler who really doesn't show too much personality, give or take. You could say, he's coming off as like the cool kakoi kind of guy, or he's just, lifeless, whatever the gimmick is. I'm a fan of him. I think I always have been, but yeah, just showing that extra fire and rage against his old tag partner is, I don't know. It's pretty exciting to look forward to a Sonata match with, actual emotion that, it doesn't take, 30 minutes into a match to get excited about a Sonata match, which seems to be a complaint of many people, but,
your mileage may vary, to each their own. That's fine. I get why. Like there are times when I'm like, Sonata, come on, dude, what's going on? I don't think he had a great G1. That's just my feeling, but I thought he showed a lot of fire here. And I do have a question. Did he ever answer your tweet asking him if that's a neck crank or not?
No, you were right. Yeah, no, he doesn't really do much on Twitter, but yeah, no, that's just the mystery. I threw out a tweet a few weeks ago to give some context to this. I've always seen the Cold Skull as a neck crank, and that's why he fastens his arm and bicep around the forehead and he's pulling on the neck. Whereas a lot of people see it as, a shitty dragon sleeper. So I just a poorly applied dragon sleeper, I guess. But I don't know. It's kind of a mystery. Me and our friend Matt McEwen actually have had this discussion a few times. Just, is it a neck crank or is it a dragon sleeper? And then, if there's no answer, then just pick whichever one makes you enjoy his wrestling matches more, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose. I when you break that tweet, I was like, you know what? I'm now thinking it's a neck crank, and I'm gonna then therefore I can enjoy him applying that move more.
Yeah, seriously. Like if you can just rewire your brain to interpret that move as, a neck crank instead of a dragon sleeper, then I think it helps out your enjoyment of his matches. And, what bad can come of, enjoying a Sonata match.
There you go. You hear that, Benno? That's a shout out to Beto and the other guys at the Grapple Spotlight. It's a neck crank. Now you will enjoy Sonata's matches more.
I'm sure they'll find something else they don't like about it. But,
I'm sure they're just haters over there. I love you guys, but you guys are Sonata haters. Anyways, next match. I skipped this match. You're gonna, Kota Ibushi and Master Wato with the cheerleader Hiroyoshi Tenzan on the outside took on the Tetsuya Naito and Bushi and I don't give a shit about this match, so I skipped it.
Yeah, my favorite part about the match was Tetsuya Naito kind of egging on Tenzan with the Mongolian chops. He did a few of those throughout the match, but obviously this is building towards the Naito Ibushi match at the Dome.
I have so little interest in either Ibushi or Naito right now.
Well, it's just like we've seen it. We saw that match how many times last year? They nearly killed each other every time. I
just think Naito's been booked terribly this year.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I don't know if the evil experiment, some insiders say that, this was on Ghetto's docket for 2020 before the pandemic. But I don't know. I feel like the way everything timed out and I totally agree with you. I think they stifled his run. They took some of the importance away from it. I think they should have figured out a different way to do the evil run, or at least waited, until 2021 to maybe pull the trigger on that.
Should have been Shingo. It should have been Shingo.
Or that too. Yeah, just switch out evil with Shingo, and then you have a more work rate kind of guy in there. Not to say that Evil is a bad wrestler, but
no, he's a bad wrestler now. Like this current incarnation, like I've seen him have good matches. I have.
Yeah.
I was at the Okada G1 where he beat him in Osaka.
Oh, yeah, in Osaka,
that was amazing.
Yeah.
That's not what we got now. We got like some lazy fuck who can't be bothered to have a different kind of a match, and I'm not into it at all. But I've lost a lot of like excitement for Naito. I'm never a huge Naito fan. Obviously, people who've listened to me for a long time know I hated Tetsuya Naito for the longest time. It's not until maybe the last 2 years that I got okay. I like his matches. I look forward to his matches. Recently, because of this year, the way he's been booked, I'm not into it. Bushi is just there. He's like he just breathes as far as I'm concerned. And Master Wato fucking sucks. Okay, like that's the thing. And Ibushi again, like I'm not a huge fan of the way he's been booked. And him and Naito together, I'm not excited. I'm sure they'll have a good match. Like I think it'll be probably fine. I'm just not into it. Like watching anything leading up to it right now before that match actually takes place. But moving on, let's go to one of our two main events, the lesser of the main events, and it was appropriately slotted that on this card. It was the World Tag League Final. It was a team, the exciting tandem of Tama Tonga and his haircut and Tangaloa taking on the returning to Japan David Finlay and Juice Robinson and his Blues Brother cosplay. Your thoughts, Joey?
I going into this, I didn't watch much of the World Tag League aside from the two shows that were joined together and kind of co-branded as Best of the Super Junior and World Tag League shows. So I think that was the first night and the semifinal night in Fukuoka. And, with only having seen those, I think it kind of kept my palate kind of cleansed for Gorillas of Destiny and Finn Juice match, because honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of either team. I haven't been. I don't think outside of a few of Juice's singles matches in the G1 this year and last year, it's just not for me. But setting all of that aside, I think that these two teams had a really good final of the World Tag League. I couldn't ask for more compared to previous World Tag League final years, but it is what it is. I thought the star of the match was David Finlay by far, though.
Oh, I think Finlay's awesome. I mean, The thing with me, as far as this match goes, I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't care about it. Like, that's the problem with like this match. It's like it's filled with people outside of Finley who I don't care about. Like they garner no interest in me. I think God are very stale in New Japan. I really think that they would benefit with a change of scenery. I think if they went to like AEW, it would probably revitalize them, and I think it would probably be like people say, oh yeah, AEW's got an awesome tag division. It's okay. It is. It's an okay, but it's filled with like a lot of green dudes. If you put like God in that tag division and had like Top Flight and like Private Party and like some of these other dudes, teaming together, taking on God, I think it'd probably be really good for both parties.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't think what else are they going to do? I mean, this is the first time they've won the World Tag League, so that's fresh, I suppose. But what, they're gonna win the tag titles again? Boring.
yeah, that's a good point. I will say that I was happy for Tongaloa. He seemed like genuinely happy to just be back wrestling in Japan and to have won this tournament finally. And it's hard to not feel good for somebody who's regardless of if you like them or not, just they obviously put in the work. They've been waiting for their spot, their moment of recognition, and this was that for him. And it was nice to see him just genuinely happy about it.
And the other thing with Juice Robinson is like I kind of feel he's the kind of wrestler who works towards the push he's given, and like he's obviously been slotted. I don't know if this is permanent or not, but he's been slotted as a mid-carder, and so he wrestles like a mid-carder. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he's realized like he's lost a lot of steam since like his initial push, like maybe 2-3 years ago, and he knows he's like this is his role in the company. And if I'm him, like I gotta think like looking above me in terms of like the roster. How am I going to surpass any of these people? It's very unlikely, and so I think he's not going to necessarily put in the effort, overall to have better matches. He's going to do because he doesn't need to, for the live crowd, he doesn't need to do much. He just, he has the charisma to get over with the crowds at shows. So I think that's what he's going to focus on. And hey, kudos to him, but at the same time, I don't have to enjoy it, and so. This is okay. If I was going to give it a rating, I'd probably go like 2 3/4 or gentleman's 3 on this thing. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't something I would write home about. But something I did write home about, Joey, is our main event, and that was the Best of the Super Juniors final of 2020. It was Hiromu Takahashi taking on El Desperado. I went the full 5 after watching this, and I did not go for the full 5 with the Go Shiozaki Takashi Sugiura match. I know a lot of people did. I did not, and I'll get to that when we get to that show. But I thought this was brilliant. I thought, and I didn't see their Cork and Hall match from this tournament. I just watched that last night actually, and that if I watched that before, this would have probably been a 5.5. Star rating because it that context of that match before really adds to this match. And I recommend people watch that first if you haven't watched this one, the finals yet. Go watch the Crocodile Hall match and then watch this. This was just an absolute fucking clinic of Desperado just going after Takahashi's leg with the stretch muffler and all the other things he did in the match, including using a chair. Which I don't mind because like he when there's ref bumps in his matches or he uses a chair, he does it smartly. He just doesn't make the referee look like an idiot, which is what like Evil and Jay White do, and El Desperado as well. They just emasculate the referees that are working their matches, whereas like Desperado doesn't really do that. There are instances where it's borderline he does, but it never goes fully beyond that, over that line for me, where I can still enjoy a lot of his matches. Obviously, the big spot that people were like losing their minds for was the part where Hiromu rips off the mask, the top part of his mask, and like Desperado, like before he did that in a previous Best of Super Juniors, I believe
it was against Dragon Lee a couple of years ago.
And then he's just wearing like the mask still on, like half on his face. There's no point. This match, he says, fuck this shit. He takes the whole thing off, throws it away, and everyone pops because, like, one, he took off his mask. Holy shit. Two, wow, he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah. Yeah, Kyosuke Mikami. Do they put the mask back on him? Like, do you sell El Desperado as a handsome young man, or do you sell him as... Do you foresee selling more masks for merchandise? Like, which way do they go with this going forward? I don't know.
Okay, on that question, I'm going to say keep the mask on him.
I agree.
Because if he's going to stop wearing the mask, he has to lose the mask versus mask or mask versus hair match. I would do Takahashi versus Desperado, mask versus hair match. That's what I would do. If you're going to have him lose the mask, do it in a match against Takahashi. I think that's the only person that makes sense. The other thing, like, you know, I'm very aware of Mikami's history with Hiromu because they were dojo mates, right? It's those two, along with Evil and with Fale. These four guys were dojo mates. And so there's a lot of history with these guys that maybe a lot of people don't know about because they don't know it's Kyosuke Mikami, right? That's El Desperado. But if you know that and you know... like how he started in New Japan, like this match has a lot of like context to it, and it's really rich in terms of the story that the underlying story between these two, because like a big part of Japanese wrestling is like generational rivals, which these two are, and I love anytime they wrestle each other because I know that context, I know that history, and I thought that just came forth throughout this match, like. Takahashi, when he's wrestling Desperado, just turns it up a notch, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, they sell it as like just pure hatred for one another, but I would guess that these guys are actually friends given their history as dojo mates and whatnot. And I think it's just one of those, you know, situations where friends let each other beat the hell out of each other in the context of a professional wrestling match, and they lay it in more because they know they can. And these dudes did not hold back. And there probably is some some underlying feelings of, you know, like Desperado maybe thinks, you know, I should have had the push like when we came back, but you know, he was sent to friggin' Noah with the rest of Suzuki-gun for.
When he came back, I thought I always liked the mask. I liked the look. The only problem with when he came back was he had the guitar.
Yeah, that's true. He had it strapped to his back. Yeah,
and I just thought, oh, he's doing a fucking shitty fucking Jeff Jarrett gimmick, and like not that Jeff Jarrett's, you know, that great with the guitar himself. So it's like, oh, he's kind of saddled with doing a shitty version of a shitty gimmick. So. I was like very happy when he's kind of evolved beyond that. He doesn't do the guitar shots anymore. He's not relying on these kind of like, you know, like heel tactics like Geto loves. Like I think he's really become his own wrestler. I think his tag team with Yoshinobu Kanemaru is fantastic. I think they're fucking awesome as a tag team. Yeah,
they're awesome. Yeah, and then to go back to your note about the interference, but when Despy used the chair on the outside, like you said, you know, he's not just, you know, pointing in the opposite direction and making the referee like walk to the other side of the ring and act like, oh, I'm looking at something. Like he actually took the junior tag belts, threw them to the other side of the ring. So the ref was truly distracted. And that's when he took advantage of using the chair to kind of wall up on Hiromu's leg, which, you know, it's just little things like that kind of help you keep your suspension of disbelief throughout a wrestling match. And, you know, there's just so much, there were so many details throughout this match that like were kind of ingrained in reality that just really just make it a visceral, just like you can feel this match, you know, it's not just like a standard, you know, flippy junior match or, you know, a main event match. It's like, there's emotion of being like like extorted out to the audience watching, which is always very helpful in these big dramatic finals.
I don't think it's asking much to have your, you know, disbelief suspended during a wrestling match. Yeah. To keep it as like legit as possible, like what you're watching is like, oh, that's not fake. Like that's all I ask for my wrestling, like to not say, oh, that's not fake.
Yeah.
I think it's asking much. But, you know, for me, overall, the show was okay. Like, I do think it's a one-match show, and that's the main event. If you're pressed for time, you don't really need to see anything else on this show. But I think this is one of the best matches I've seen this year. I think it might be. I'm thinking it's better. Like, I'd have to rewatch the Wrestle Kingdom main event matches, but for me, like, maybe this is a recency bias, but this is probably the best New Japan match of this year for me.
Yeah, I'd say the same for me as well. The only thing that holds it up is, you know, like the COVID crowds. I can't even imagine what this would have been like with you know, a normal conventional wrestling crowd setting. Like, how great would it be if, like, you had all of the fans just like screaming at the top of their lungs? And they were once Despy ripped off that mask, you could hear just the roar of the crowd, which was, you know, goosebump inciting. You know, it was so cool. But, you know, it stinks that we didn't get to see this match in this grand setting with, you know, a normal crowd setting. But yeah, I don't know. It's up there with Okada and Ibushi and all the great matches from the Dome this year. That's for sure.
I mean, kudos to these two. By the way, they headlined this show, and it looked pretty. You know, with the you know, the COVID restrictions for crowd numbers, they held it in Budokan Hall, and that's got to be a career highlight for both these guys. They're juniors in New Japan, and they headlined a Budokan Hall show. Like, that's fucking amazing, and I'm so glad both these guys got that on their CV. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's really nice to look back and say, I had a fucking 5-star match with, you know, one of my greatest rivals in Budokan Hall. Both of them can say that about this match. But and we'll be talking about Budokan Hall a bit more as this show progresses. Just some quick notes about New Japan. Kevin Kelly confirmed that he and Chris Charlton and Rocky Romero will be doing live English commentary. I think they're going to be at the Tokyo Dome, maybe. I think they're probably heading over for that. I think that's what he said.
I think Kevin said he's going to be in the building.
So at Wrestle Kingdom 15. So I imagine they're you know, Chris is already there. So I imagine Kevin Kelly and Rocky are leaving very quickly for Japan to do their quarantine. They probably got the okay from the Japanese government. Of course, you know, like, what do we have here? So let's talk about. Oh, okay. Another thing with the Budokan. New Japan announced it will hold its 49th anniversary show at the Budokan. Here's the thing. We're going to talk about the Budokan, like all these companies like running shows at the Budokan. And I think the Budokan must be like having discounts on its rental fees.
Okay. So I tweeted this in light of Noah announcing that they were doing Budokan in February. So looking at the official number for yesterday's show at Budokan for the Best of the Super Juniors World Tag League Final, it looks like they did like 3,564 fans in the building. And you could tell the second half of the upper deck of Budokan was completely empty. Like, I don't know if they just didn't sell tickets there or they didn't reach those limits and they were selling up in terms of what sections of the building they sell tickets for. But, you know, 3,500 in Budokan's 16,000 or 13,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't foresee Noah doing too well, but that's not to say if they don't get if they could get, you know, 3,000 people in the building, I can't not say that the show looked terrible on the optics of the show yesterday looked bad. You just turn the lights down low and kind of hide the fact that it's 3/4 empty. I don't know what the game plan is, but it definitely adds some levity and some added importance and drama to the show just being in Budokan, regardless of how many people are there. So,
well, I mean, like Japan, like everywhere else, the numbers for COVID infections are rising. Japan, you know, seemingly had you know, a pretty good grasp of this. Like officially, like I have a whole, you know, theory about, like, unofficially probably not, because like the way Japan handles COVID testing and stuff like that is leaves a lot to be desired, to be quite honest with you. I'm not going to necessarily get into it on air here, but let's just say, like, you know, you're not going to get the best response going to a hospital for wanting to get a COVID test. Let me just say that right here. But this 49th show will be on March 4th. And last year's scheduled match was going to be the IWGP Heavyweight Champion taking on the IWGP Junior Champion, which was, of course, Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi. So, like, I don't know if those two will be the champions come 2021. But if they are, I can see that doing a very good number for New Japan running the Budokan, even with limited crowds.
Definitely. Yeah, that would be awesome. As I'm actually looking at a cover of a Shoe Pro magazine from, I believe it was The New Beginning, where they kind of planted the seed for Hiromu and Naito having that match, and just doing the whole pose after Naito beat Kenta at where is that? Osaka-jo Hall, I believe. But yeah, they kind of put a nail in that and just haven't really referenced it since. But that'd be pretty cool. But I would also be completely fine with them doing Ibushi versus Hiromu if that's how everything kind of plays out. That would be pretty awesome as well.
That'd be a first time match too, and like I would probably be like on the surface more excited about that match than I would about Naito versus, obviously that there's more history, more context with Naito and Hiromu, but I would be more excited, you know, for Ibushi versus Hiromu, to be kind of honest with you. Before we move on to All Japan, let's just talk about, you know, this is the December show, so we're not going to be back on Post Perez until probably right after Wrestle Kingdom. So let's talk about match possibilities that we have so far. Like, let me know what you think. I'm just going to run down my thoughts. Okan versus Tanahashi, Evil versus Sonata, Takagi versus Cobb for the Never title, God versus Dangerous Tekkers, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. for the tag titles, Kenta versus Juice Robinson maybe for the briefcase if they're not all working us and Moxley's not coming to defend that fucking title. At this point, just strip him of it and put it on and just have it be for the title then. You know, it's like people will say, oh, who cares? It's the U.S. title. Well, they care, obviously. Why do they, you know? Like, if it makes no sense to keep it on Moxley if he's not going to be able to go to Japan to do it. I think he might show up. I think there's a good outside chance that he might show up. Who else have we got? Oh, Hiromu taking on El Phantasmo, probably on night 1 of the Wrestle Kingdom, and then taking on Taiji Shimori. Whoever wins that match, which I assume will be Hiromu. Yeah. It would make no sense for ELP to win that match, and then, you know, Hiromu will challenge Ishimori for the junior heavyweight title on the 5th, and then the main events will be, you know, Kota Ibushi taking on Tetsuya Naito on January 4th for the title, and then the winner of that match taking on Jay White on the 5th. And I'm going to go, my prediction is Ibushi goes all the way. He beats Naito on the 4th, and then he successfully defends the belt against Jay White on the 5th. Yeah, that kind of wraps up the main event stuff in a bow for the full year kind of story arc of Ibushi, kind of dropping the ball last year, 2 nights in a row, and then coming back this year and you know, redeeming himself. But yeah, no, that sounds like a good card. I do worry about the drawing power of January 5th. Well, both nights. I mean, they're like on weekdays, so yeah, but happen. Yeah, that's true. But I think, you know, and no foreigners, no like outside tourism is going to be allowed in, like especially with rising numbers and like you know Canada, United States. I don't know about in the UK. I don't know about maybe Australia, New Zealand can like be allowed to. But even in Japan itself, numbers are rising. So I don't know like what kind of crowds are going to be drawing from the Japanese population itself. Like, let alone like there's going to be no tourism in that country. I don't see them opening the borders to. They'd be insane to do that, you know, especially to North America. I would not do that. I don't think that's likely. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they draw, though. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, January. I think just given the staying power of January 4th, like that, obviously. Same as last year, they'll do a bigger number, whether that's you know the full 20,000 or you know
give or take a few thousand. I guess not give or take, but maybe a few less. But yeah, January 5th might be, I don't know, 10, 15 maybe max. I don't know, inside of a big dome. That it'll be what it is, but and I'm sure it'll be a fun wrestling shows. But
yeah, well, we'll see what happens in like post January 5th. We'll talk about it on the next time Post Perez comes back on. After that show. Let's move on to All Japan, and we're going to talk about the Real World Tag League finals. I did not see a lot of the Real World Tag League just because, like, a lot of the teams I thought were terrible. The ECW homage team of Tanaka and Tajiri, I didn't watch any of their matches. I skipped most of Purple Haze. Sai and Yoshitatsu, I said, no fucking way. The only teams I was interested in was like Kumarashi and Shotaro Shino, and I gotta say I'm not a huge fan of Kumarashi, but like I think he really grew as a performer throughout this tag league. Violent Giants and Nextream and Jin, those were the teams whose matches I would more or less watch for the most part, and to some degree like the Big Japan team of Sekimoto and Abdullah Kobayashi. But I honestly, no slander. He's a nice guy. I've met him. Very nice man, but he did not belong in this thing. Like, this spot should have been given to Akira Hyoto. It should have been given to Takuya Kato or someone else. Maybe even Takuya Nomura. I don't know, but I just felt he was too goofy. Like grabbing the ropes, break, and then he just did his bleeding gimmick stuff, like, and stabbing people in the fork. I don't want to see this like in All Japan. It just, I know, like, but WH Abdullah Butcher himself was in all. Yeah. Like, not in the 90s. It was in the fucking 90s. And this is not Abdullah fucking Butcher. This is Abdullah Kobayashi.
Yeah.
He's a comedy wrestler. Okay. He's, as Hideki Suzuki himself said to me face to face, he's comedy wrestler. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
That is what he is.
As you know, having probably helped me acquire several Kobayashi Gundam shirts over the past couple of years. I'm a big fan of Abby. There's something just inherently likable about him for me. I don't know. And then, there's also just the context of, thanks to you having gone back recently and watched Daisuke's and Abdullah Kobayashi's Big Japan tag team title run from 2006, which was actually pretty entertaining. It had me excited for them to kind of rejoin and kind of see what they could do in 2020 in All Japan. And, I only watched the opening night in Shinjuku Face, which I thought was overall a very fun show. And then I watched this final night, and I thought it was equally as fun, if not more fun. But yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying about Abdullah. I think it's just a testament to him being pals with, the booker, or apparently the booker, Shuji Ishikawa, and, just getting a little friendly rub and getting a few extra bookings. I think that's all that it really was. And, I guess this doesn't really help since he actually pinned Miyahara, but it would have worked as pretty well for him being the fall guy, so Sekimoto doesn't have to take the fall. But yeah, it was. I thought the first night and the final night of this tournament were pretty fun watches. Overall,
yeah, I think the first night was a little bit better for me. Like the final night, I didn't see. Maybe I skipped like 3 matches on this just for time considerations. Like, it's hard for me to watch full shows if I'm not watching them live. So,
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the last 2 matches of this show. The Ishikawa and Suwama taking on, Kobayashi and Sekimoto, and Suwama just laying it into Abby, which I enjoy. I'm a Suwama guy. I like him more than I like Abdullah Kobayashi. So him choking him out doing the match, perfectly fine with that. But the main event, holy fuck, I love this match. What I liked about, Miyahara and Aoyagi, Nextream, taking on Jake Lee and Kojimoto Jin, was that both these teams worked as teams. They did a lot of teamwork against each other, and they just have both of these teams have excellent chemistry between teammates and against each other as opponents. I thought it was a really, really, really great, fun match.
Yeah, no, this is like top tier match of the year level for me. I thought this final was incredible. I thought the star of the match by far was Koji Iwamoto. He is like quickly like he's always been on my radar since the first time I saw him. I thought he was great with the judo throws and everything, but man, if he's just not like the second coming of Minoru Tanaka with like the smoothness and just that I just get glimpses of young Minoru Tanaka and him like more and more as time passes, and he's just next level. I think he's incredible.
Oh, I would totally agree. I would also say like Ima Aoyagi, he's kind of really getting the huge push.
Yeah.
Out of this, and I think he acquitted himself equally as well as Koji Iwamoto. Like I've been really impressed with Iwamoto like throughout this whole tournament. He did not look like how a junior, even though he's a junior champion, like you should always protect your champion no matter what division they're in. Like he was not presented as a junior. He was presented as an equal to all the heavyweights he was facing. And I got to think that's maybe something to do with like also like Tajiri. It's been reported that Tajiri is also maybe, I don't know if he's replaced Ishikawa fully, but he's apparently now the head booker of All Japan. I can see like Tajiri saying, look, listen, I pushed as a heavyweight, like, and this guy's like super talented. Like he's not that much smaller than most of the guys in this company. Like you could conceivably, credibly push him as a heavyweight in this company, and it would work. I think all you just do is just put on a little bit more muscle mass. That's it. I wouldn't go crazy with that.
And he's pretty thick as it is. And I mean, if you at this point, I know it's slander because everybody loves Shotaro Ashino, but I mean, Ashino is a relatively short guy as well, and if he can pass as a heavyweight against some of these guys in All Japan, then I think Iwamoto can. I think Iwamoto is putting on more size as we speak. He looks like he's getting puffier and kind of thicker. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off though.
Oh no. Like I think, depending what happens with Naoya Nomura, if he comes back or not, like they need someone to take that spot. You know, like, and he's already teaming with Jake successfully. They've been multiple times they've held the All Asia Tag Team titles, and they're an excellent team. Like their chemistry is a lot better than Miyahara and Aoyagi, who are great themselves. But I think because Lee and Iwamoto have been teaming consistently and have had tag team title reigns together, that these guys just off the charts, chemistry and like you can tell that they're friends outside the ring and probably do think about their matches a lot together and just talk about like we should do this in our match. We should do this double team move in our match and things like that. Yeah. But, sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, I was just going to continue to kind of praise this match. I just thought it was awesome. It was. I think it's like, I have to go back and look at my notes, but like I think this is probably in the top 3 tag matches I've seen all year. And, usually the real world tag league, always the finals usually deliver far more than New Japan's World Tag League for me, at least. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I mean, they actually put importance in like it actually means something to win this tournament as opposed to just like you get the mid-card tag team title match at the Dome. Exactly. But I do want to point out since we didn't really talk about the undercard that the continuation of the Infants Terribles and Purple Haze kind of feud continued after believe it was after the Masato Tanaka and Tajiri versus Izanagi Irie match. Koji Doi and what other match? Hokuto Omori. Yes. I was going to say it was Kodama, but no, you're right. They came out and pulled off Izanagi's mask. And I don't know if I don't think it's much of a secret, but Izanagi is Atsushi Maruyama. What? Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? But yeah, just that little angle thrown in there. It felt important, and it has me excited for whatever they do with those two stables. Oh, well, it's leading in the post-match interview. Like, Omori and Doi were saying that they want the All Asia tag titles, which is held by Irie. No, it's held by Zeus and Izanagi. So I think, and Zeus is coming back, so they're probably gonna book like Koji Doi and Hokuto Omori to taking on Zeus and Izanagi. And I would put the belts on them. Like I don't think you can do much with the Purple Haze group with those using those belts. So put them on a fresher team. I think it'd be good for Omori. I think he's obviously getting the big push in the company, and yeah, like we'll see. Like I'm excited to see what happens with that as well. I like Koji Doi. I just wish he would just be a little bit more, kind of, motivated to work a bit harder in his matches more consistently.
Yeah, he looks like a guy that would be a killer, and it kind of doesn't translate well once he actually starts working sometimes. But you can definitely see it's there. It's just if he's motivated, like you said.
All right, so coming out of this finals with Miyahara and Aoyagi winning the Real World Tag League, there's two outcomes that came out of this. One is that Kento and Yuma will challenge the Violent Giants of Shuji Yoshikawa and Suwama for the World Tag Team Championship at Korakuen Hall on January 2nd. As well, Yuma Aoyagi is going to challenge Suwama in a singles match for his Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship. And that will be on January 3rd. I don't know about this. I don't think it's a good idea for one guy to challenge for two sets of titles from the same guy who's holding both sets of titles.
Yeah. So is one happening on they usually do two shows, the second and the third, right?
Yes.
Is one happening on the second and one happening on the third then? Yeah.
So like the tag team title match is on the second, and then the Triple Crown match will be on the third. I'm going to say, like, it would be, if I'm booking it, I would have Miyahara and Aoyagi win on the second. I think they should become the World Tag Team Champions. I think Violent Giants have had that tag team title too long. I like the team, but they kind of have a chokehold on the belts. I would not have Aoyagi win the Triple Crown. I think during the course of the tag league that, they did a pretty good job of like building up the issue between Suwama and Jake Lee, where they had a post-match brawl after one of their matches with one another, like in a tag match. And I thought, that's it. Like, Jake's just build up Jake. Like, and you know what? Jake should win the Triple Crown. I think he's shown a lot of improvement as far as his persona goes inside the ring. He's shown a lot of fire throughout this tournament. And I think you got to pull the trigger with Jake and give him the titles.
Yeah, he's pretty polished at this point, just personality wise. He's had the skills in ring, but like he's got that personality now that kind of shines through and elevates his work. And I agree. It's got to be somebody though. I feel like Suwama's kind of running on fumes and needs a break. Honestly, he's definitely looked worse in there at previous times when his back has had issues. But I don't know. I
think he's acquitted himself fairly well throughout this year with being the Triple Crown champion. I have at least, I'm trying to remember which one it was, but I have at least one of his matches is like a 5-star. I think it's the one where he beat Kento for the title. And I was very high on his title defense against Ashino as well. Yeah. So moving on with the news, like one of the sad things I have to report is that Yusuke Okada is going to leave All Japan, probably because like he's been booked like shit in that company, and his contract is up at the end of this month, and his last match for All Japan will be at Korakuen Hall on December 13th. He's going to team up with the wonderful Chikara and Yoshitatsu. Oh, fuck. I mean, it continues. They're just taking a shit on him as he's going out the door. And they're going to take on Jun Kasai. You must be happy about this. Kenji Fukumoto and Masashi Takeda. So I assume the deathmatch dudes are going to be, hey, just bloody this guy up as he goes out the door.
Okay, yeah. So this match, or this show actually happened this morning, the day we were recording.
Oh, and,
yes. So I have seen a screen cap from the show, and there are, in fact, skewers in that match, if you can believe it. A match with Jun Kasai and Masashi Takeda and Kenji Fukumoto. Freedom's is best. I'm excited to see what those three guys do to, namely just Chikara. Honestly, I think the skewer spot was on Chikara, but Yeah, it's a weird way to kind of say your goodbyes to All Japan is a match against three outsiders. But
well, I mean, the speculation is that he didn't want to continue with the company because like he's been booked terribly.
Yeah,
There's a lot of speculation as to why. Like a lot of it has to do maybe he did something to piss off either Ishikawa, who is apparently the booker for most of the year, but apparently Tajiri recently took over the book. I don't know like how long he's been the head booker for All Japan, but maybe Tajiri doesn't like him either. I don't know. But the other speculation is that like even when Jun Akiyama left All Japan to go to DDT, like maybe it sounds like maybe some people like cut ties with him or didn't really because there was like heat for that. And then, but like Yusuke Okada wasn't one of those people. He remained friends and would like hang out with Akiyama, and like Akiyama put on his Twitter like the day after he Okada had his press conference like, hey, look who I ran into for dinner. And Okada's got like this shit-eating grin on his face, like he's like the happiest person in the world. So like I think he says he's going to be a freelancer. I can see a lot of his freelancings time being taken up by DDT.
No, he definitely kind of has that general vibe of a DDT guy, but I hope he gets booked elsewhere too. Just personally, as a Big Japan fan, I could see him killing it with some of the juniors over there. But yeah, I mean, this isn't the worst thing, and who knows? Maybe it's a situation where they'll continue to book him after All Japan. That is, they'll continue to book Okada, just in meaningless undercard tags when they can afford it, or I don't know, but yeah, I am looking forward to seeing where he ends up and what he ends up doing, because I think he's a great talent and would help improve any roster that he's part of.
Yeah,
at least work rate. I don't know about him as a backstage personality or anything, but
I don't care.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I don't care. Like I hope he goes to. I think he would really help out Noah if they stop like doing multiple babyface and heel turns in among the Noah juniors. But like I think as a talent, he would really help round out that roster, which is a pretty decent roster as it is. But I think he'd be a welcome addition to that. One final note about All Japan before we move on to Noah is that Ice Ribbon had a big show at Yokohama recently, and appearing at that show in the crowd were Shuji Ishikawa and Suwama, and they did an in-ring segment with Ice Ribbon's Tsukasa Fujimoto, and they announced that she's going to be an advisor to their Joshi project called Evolution Girls, which I assume is going to have some ties with All Japan Pro Wrestling, Joey.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea about this.
So yeah, like this is something like Suwama's been talking about for a while, about doing adding like a Joshi division to All Japan Pro Wrestling, but maybe I think there'd be some confusion in the marketplace because what are you going to call it? All Japan's Women? That
yeah, I know.
already exists. So Evolution Girls, maybe like they're kind of that's our nice middle in between because it's like Suwama's project and he's the leader of the Evolution faction in All Japan. Who knows? But I think hitting Fujimoto, like she's like one of the smartest people in wrestling, especially with regards to the Joshi scene. Like she's very influential. Like you can't get a better person, in my opinion, to kind of be your advisor. And obviously, this probably means they're going to have access to the Ice Ribbon roster, which is one of the better, independent Joshi promotions out in Japan right now. Yeah,
that's pretty exciting. And yeah, I personally would not be offended if they wanted to throw on a women's or a Joshi match on every All Japan show. Honestly, like if they want to bolster up the card and throw something else on there, I mean, I think All Japan cards have room for that.
I think if you can get rid of a lot of things and make room for something like that, for sure.
Stop booking Abdullah Kobayashi.
No. Well, I'm just kidding. No. Bye-bye Yoshitatsu. Bye-bye Tajiri in the ring. Bye-bye, Osamu Nishimura. Just get rid of all these meaningless old fucking guys.
I'm cool with Masafuchi staying around. His gimmick still pops me from time to time.
Yeah, I'm fine with Masafuchi, but I don't need to see fucking Ryoji Sai or Yoshitatsu ever again in my
That's
life,
fair.
to be honest with you. But moving on to Noah, we gotta start wrapping things up as we reach the 2-hour limit here. Noah had on December 6th, they had their big show, Final Chronicle 2020, highlighted by a GHC heavyweight title match that got a lot of praise. Go Shiozaki taking on Takashi Sugiura. He successfully defended that title in what many people are calling a classic. I'm not one of those people. Like, I thought it was a very good match, but for me, it was really long. It had a lot of filler where portions, like, I'd say a good, third of the match was filled with like meaningless spots where they're just doing moves to each other that had nothing to do with the finish. And here's the other thing: like, I know a lot of people are invested in Go, as with his story of his title defenses being all bandaged up and everything, and people attacking his arms all the time. That's cool. I get it. Like, I'm not as invested in Go Shiozaki as a lot of other people, and that really affects my enjoyment of wrestling matches in general. And I like Takashi Sugiura as much as anyone else, but again, I'm not invested in his story this year, to be quite honest with you. So like, I gave it a 4.25 star rating. I think people should watch it. I know a lot of people whose opinion I respect love this match, and I would never, say you're wrong for liking it. It's just for my own personal tastes and my own personal like feelings about both guys and about Noah in general. Is like, it didn't resonate with me as much as it did with other people. Where do you stand on this match?
As somebody who doesn't give or really like look at matches in the lens of like a star rating sense, I thought these last two title defenses by Go have been really great and somewhat similar in that there's just a lot of, it's long for the sake of being long, but that's not to say it's not like whatever they're doing inside of those 45 to 50 minutes isn't great. It's just spaced out a bit more than what I'd prefer. But if there's one thing, it's very relatable to like how UFC is kind of being perceived and interpreted now with these empty arena shows, and with Noah with the no clap, or with the only clap crowds, and not being able to scream or whatever, the COVID crowds essentially. I think these strikes and chops just really come across more violent and intense than they did previously, where you'd have the crowd reaction immediately following, the gunshot chop sound. But now you just get to let it resonate, and it kind of echoes throughout the building, and you really just get to feel it, and it's pretty incredible stuff. But yeah, I like this Go reign. I think it reminds me of a condensed, or at like the latter half of Nigel McGuinness's ROH title run, where he's, like he said, he's all bandaged up and basically just like held together with strings, essentially. At least that's the story that they're telling. I think that's great, but I enjoyed these last two title defenses. I thought Sugiura was great too. I love the kind of flash finish where Sugiura was kind of coming up, and he had one last kind of energy boost and just like fighting spirit to release, and then Go just hits him with that brutal lariat to finish it, and it was a fun match. But yeah, just a little bit on the long side. I'm not sure 2020 needs these 45 to 50 minute long epics anymore. I think people's attention spans don't lend itself to that length of wrestling matches anymore, at least too often. And but I do wonder what Go can do with Keiji Muto inside of the Budokan.
If you get to that, I just want to say one thing in this match's defense is that the result was spoiled for me. That also takes away like maybe my enjoyment of it. Is like, I know some people watched it spoiled, but I know a lot of people who praised it like were into the drama of it because they didn't know who's going to win. It could have gone either way. Well, I knew, I think that really helps my enjoyment of matches as well. So I think maybe I would have been a bit higher on this match if I didn't know who was going to be the winner of it. But, Go did defeat Sugiura, and his next title defense will be against how old is he? The 58-year-old Keiji Muto. And they're going to have their title match on February 12th at Nippon Budokan. Apparently the president of Noah was looking at Budokan's availability and said, "Oh, February 12th. Oh, they're free. How much? Oh, that's like a song. Let's book that." I think that's probably what happened there. But it's going to be for their show called Destination 2021. I don't think I like this idea. Joey, I don't like the idea of, Keiji Muto, whose best days have been long behind him, getting this title shot. It really, betrays the fact that Nosawa Rangai is the booker of this company, and that Nosawa Rangai is a nepotism booker, and Nosawa Rangai books his friends in high spots on the cards and on the roster because he wants to give them a paycheck. And it also betrays that he has been a lifelong Muto mark for most of his life, including working with him. All the Shining Wizards he did throughout his career. But this is a little bit much for me. I don't think this is going to be a good match. I think Go's a great wrestler. I don't think he's a great wrestler enough, not a great enough wrestler to drag something out of fucking Muto. What is it? Is this going to be 43 minutes as well? God, I hope
what do
not.
they do? Yeah,
I don't know. But here's the thing: I think Muto's going to win this belt because the way Muto's been booked, he beat Kiyomiya, who, by the way, should be the guy in this spot. He should be the guy to take this title off of Shiozaki. It would come full circle because Shiozaki's beat him for the title back in January of this year at Korakuen Hall. That's what I think should be, but he's now but he's now in a tag team title match with Inamura as his tag team partner, and they're going to take on, who is it? It's Shiozaki. It's Sugiura and Kazushi Sakuraba as a tag title. I imagine they're going to win the tag titles, but I think it should be Kiyomiya. Because if you're gonna make Kiyomiya your ace, fucking do it. Just make him your ace, and he should be the one to end this kind of legendary run that Go has been having.
Yeah, I agree. There's really nobody else on the roster. Go's kind of went through everybody that you would consider being a valid contender, especially for a Budokan Hall main event. It's like, who else do you put in there? And Muto, in the sense that, if you're wanting a guy that will definitely draw people to the building, I guess he's the one guy that will help boost that. But then it's like, once the ring bells, it's like, what are they going to do for however long?
Well, is he really that much of a draw? Wouldn't Wrestle One still be around?
Yeah, that's fair too. I don't really know what the logic is besides what you said with Nosawa just being a nepotism booker.
Well, he's just a mark. He's just a mark. Here's the thing: is when I talk about the booking, it's so Muto beat Kiyomiya earlier this year, right?
Yeah,
which baffled everyone.
Yeah.
But the only way that makes really any sense is okay, Muto wins the belt. Okay, he becomes the third person in history to be IWGP champion, Triple Crown champion, and GHC heavyweight champion. The other two would be Yoshihiro Takayama and Kensuke Sasaki. Okay, Muto's maybe the third person to achieve that milestone. And then Kiyomiya beats the legend. Okay, maybe he has two title defenses, and then he loses to Kiyomiya down the line in 2021. Sure, I guess. I still think it's better if Kiyomiya beats Go and ends that title reign, but we'll see what happens. That's where I think that's going to go, though. We do have to I'm just going to run quickly through some big Japan news and some startup news. Sorry, go ahead.
Before you get there, do you have any predictions or possibilities for what you could expect Noah to kind of pull out to draw a larger than normal crowd for this Budokan show? Because just sitting here, I don't know what other matches are announced for the show, but if Marufuji's not booked, wouldn't it be freaking awesome if they're like, you know what, like New Japan, can we have Kenta just for this one night to have one more Kenta Marufuji match inside of Budokan or something like that?
I think the talk is Marufuji is going to have a singles match with Masakatsu Funaki.
I gotcha. So they're gonna keep it kind of insular in terms of.
I mean, I can see DDT involvement on this show.
Yeah.
Because they're under the same corporate umbrella. So maybe you'll see some interpromotional like matches. Dashinoku Dino versus Keno for the national title. That's something I'm clamoring for. I love both those guys. Yeah. Please note the sarcasm. But yeah, I think if we're gonna see anything, it'll be like Cyber Agent or Cyber Fight, whatever the fuck they're called. Yeah. Like just bringing in DDT talent to work these shows and do some interpromotional stuff. Like I think that would help. I think that's the only thing that would really help. I don't think Muda's a draw. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I hope they do a good number, and I really think that a lot of the stuff they've been doing has been entertaining. It's just I don't know if it leads to a big house at Budokan, and their production has just been like excellent this year as well with the new ownership. That you can tell they put more money into production and promo videos and things of that nature, and that all helps with that type of stuff. And I think I've seen people on Twitter just saying like, Noah is going to lap New Japan within the next couple of years, thinking like, they're going to be the new gateway for Western fans into Japanese wrestling. And, it's kind of too early to say that, I think, but I can see where the seeds are being planted for something like that to maybe happen if things go the right way.
I think that's putting the cart before the horse, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold prediction, but I do see like with the production upgrades, it's very helpful with the ABEMA TV broadcasts and all that. The same thing that
I hate those ABEMA TV broadcasts. I hate those fucking graphics. To be honest,
you don't like the stamina, the speed, the technique.
They just clutter up. And I hate that fucking ring post camera jib that they fucking got when it shakes all the time. I hate those kinds of touches that they bring to these Noah shows. Like, they annoy me. But we do have to kind of just quickly move on here, Joey. No, it's okay. No problem. But we're going to get to your favorite Outlaw Mud Show promotion, and that's Big Japan Pro Wrestling. A couple of notes here. Yuji Okabayashi, the current strong heavyweight champion, will take on Hideyoshi Kamitani, someone you and I both are high on, and he's gonna challenge him for that on December 20th. Also on that show, one of the worst champions out there, Minoru Fujita, will defend the deathmatch heavyweight championship against Yuko Miyamoto. And I hope to God, I don't care about this title, but I hope Miyamoto beats Fujita, because Fujita is fucking horrible.
Yeah, I don't foresee Miyamoto being the guy. I hope it's Yuki Ishikawa and they elevate a young guy for once over in Big Japan.
That's putting the cart before the horse again there, Joey.
Again, yeah, definitely. Hey, but the astronauts have the tag titles, so that's
finally.
But yeah, no, I hope they wait to pull the trigger on this title reign. But I can also agree with you that I'm not the biggest fan of Minoru Fujita's title reign in the deathmatch setting. But man, I am so happy to have. I'm sure you are too. I don't know if you saw the Daichi title loss against Okabayashi from a couple of months ago, but even if you're not a Daichi fan, go look for that match, because they just beat the crap out of each other, and that's another just kind of sleeper match of the year candidate that I think a lot of people overlooked. But yeah, Okabayashi is awesome. I think Kamitani is going to kill it with him.
I think this needs to be. I don't think he necessarily should win the title, Kamitani, but I do think he needs to be elevated in this match, and I think he needs to be pushed harder. I think if you're going to push Daichi Hashimoto the way you have, like, you should push Kamitani equally as much. Oh,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, Kamitani is definitely like I favor him in that tag team over Daichi, but
he's homegrown. He's a Big Japan homegrown guy, Like, Daichi is like someone that they quote unquote lucked into. I don't know how much you're going to say that. I don't care how good his title reign people are saying it is. Like, he is a terrible representative of that company when he's not wrestling in Big Japan. Look at his Champions Carnival performances. What an embarrassment!
He's just kind of he moves kind of like a lazy person. That's not to say his strikes aren't stiff as hell, but yeah, I totally get what like people's gripes with him. I have no reservations I'm at a loss for words. I don't have any doubt in my mind that Hideyoshi Kamitani and Okabayashi are going to have like a stellar match, though. I think they're going to beat the hell out of each other as they normally do. And I foresee that match being at the top of near the top of my match of the year lists.
Well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it as well. A couple of notes about Big Japan and DDT are having their annual one-night tag team tournament on December 31st. This is an annual tradition that they have on New Year's Eve. They released the brackets for the teams in it. We have Harashima and Yuji Okabayashi. That's a hell of a team. Taking on Yukio Naya and Yuya Aoki. Akira Hyodo and Makoto Oishi. Another interesting pairing there, taking on Konosuke Takeshita and Takuya Nomura. That's a really good sounding team on paper.
Yeah.
Dashinoku Dino, no. And Drew Parker, no. I'm not a fan of either. Sorry. Taking on Yasufumi Nakanoe and Yuki Ueno. That whatever. And finally, here's an interesting team. Chris Brooks and Hideyoshi Kamitani, who we were talking about, taking on Daisuke Sekimoto and Tetsuya Endo. Maybe that's the match I'm the most interested in.
Yeah, there's always like for these shuffle tag tournaments that they do on New Year's Eve, it seems like half of the teams are like, holy crap, I can't believe these two are going to be teaming together, and then half of them are like, well then, and then it's kind of like a toss up whether or not like the teams that you would expect to make it to the next round actually make it to the next round in the tournament. But it's always a fun watch. It's always like 4 hours of just like silliness and fun wrestling. So, something fun to look forward to on New Year's Eve.
Definitely. And finally, some Stardom notes. I've not been watching Stardom because of my moving back from Japan back to Canada. I just had to cut my subscription to certain things and until I got a job, and then I'll probably restart my Stardom because I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in Stardom and a lot of things that have been getting praised. But the big news from Stardom, and this is what we're going to end the show with, is that Stardom announced that they will running their 10th anniversary show, which is also Mayu Iwatani's 10th anniversary show in wrestling. All-Star Dream Cinderella, that's the name of the show, and this is going to be at Budokan Hall.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. So apparently Budokan is just like,
it's open.
Please, just come in. You don't have to pay anything. Just make sure to sign your name on the reservation sheet and just make sure to clean up when you're done with the building.
you think all the wrestling fans think AEW is open for business? Nah, Budokan Hall is open for business.
Apparently, man, it was like a drought of like, what, besides the Kobashi retirement to the G1 in 2018, it was like 5 years where
nothing.
Nothing with in terms of wrestling. And then I guess DDT ran in 2013 as well. But yeah, it's crazy how many promotions are running there now.
They must be like hurting for money, and so they just said, we're running discounts, like we'll give you a break, because like Budokan is not cheap to book. It's also not easy to book because I do think it's a very popular place to hold like martial arts tournaments and other sporting events and concerts. Obviously, those things aren't happening, so Budokan is probably like, we have all this free, spots on our schedule in the year, and we need money. Hey, you want to run it? So there you go. But on that note, I think we're gonna wrap up this edition of Post Perez, the final one of the year, and I don't know, like I don't really want to do a year end kind of thing. We're running pretty far as it is right now. I'll probably talk about the end of the year in the first episode of 2021. And Joey, like, I hope you get to join me sometime in 2021 on air. I do think one thing I will say that I've been in talks with both John and Wei about maybe doing more post Perez in 2021. Probably maybe we're going to do 2 shows a month. We're still working on that. We're still figuring that out. But if that happens, one of those shows would be with John Pollock, always every month. But the second show would be with probably with a rotating guest host with me, talking about different aspects of Perez that month. And one of those people will definitely be you, Joey. You'd be part of the lineup for the rotating host spot if we go through with that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'd love to be back on. I always enjoy talking to you. You're a great friend, and I love the shows that you and John do. Honestly, like I just love listening to you guys and breaking down Japanese pro wrestling. I think you guys bring a lot of insight, and you guys level each other out fairly well as well. And it's always a fun listen that I always look forward to see pop up on my podcast feed. So.
Well,
thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for saying all those kind words, even though I slander you with the Outlaw Mud Show talk.
I know it's all in love. It's kind-hearted and in good nature. So I know you're just messing with me for the most part.
Anyone who knows me knows that my appreciation for my friends runs into the my sarcasm levels. The more sarcastic I am with you, the more mean I am to you, probably the more I like you. So there you go.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But with that being said, thank you, Joey, for appearing on Post Perez this episode. Thanks to all the listeners for tuning in, and I hope you've stuck with us for these last 2 hours. And yeah, we'll be back next month. We'll probably be running down the results of Wrestle Kingdom plus all the other major shows that are happening that week with All Japan, Noah, DDT, Big Japan, Stardom, Ice Ribbon, Wave. Fucking everyone's going to be running in Tokyo that week. I don't know how good of an idea that is, because I don't think COVID's going anywhere in Tokyo that week, and Tokyo is the epicenter of COVID infections in Japan. So we'll see what happens. Please stay safe, everyone. People listening to this in Japan, if there's anyone out there listening in Japan, please stay safe. The numbers are rising. Everywhere else, stay safe. Let's get through the rest of this year. Let's make 2021 hopefully a better year. I am very optimistic that it will be. But thank you, everyone, for listening. And until January, I will say goodbye.